Well, welcome to the North Melbourne members Q&A. We've got a fantastic list of guys here to answer all your questions that you've submitted through all the club platforms and channels. We're joined by the CEO of North Melbourne, Ben Amarfio, General Manager Brady Rawlings of football. We've got our Head of Player Personnel in Scott Clayton and our List Manager, Luff. Guys, thanks so much for your time and for joining us today after what was a pretty busy trade period.
Good to be here.
Thanks, Heath.
So we'll get underway straight away. And the first question comes from a Paul Canane. Can you all please tell me the decisions the club has made, as it's been a little bit of doom and gloom in the media and it's been a bit overwhelming? A good question to start with. Ben, do you want to kick off?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is we don't get sort of bored. We don't buy into a lot of the doom and gloom. I mean, the media likes to play things up. They've got a story to sell, and we get that. And the old adage, things are never as good as they seem and never as bad as they seem. So it's always somewhere in between. And then there's been a period of time where we weren't able to talk as well, and that created a vacuum, which created more voices and all the rest of it. We get it. But hopefully we're through that period and we're being strong and bold, and we've led by our chairman, came out and made some strong statements in the last couple of weeks. The boys on this call have all been very busy in the background working towards this trade period. We want to get in and talk about that because that's the exciting stuff. And the exciting stuff is all about, the work that we're doing to build for the future. We're not looking at any sort of sugar hit, any short-term thing here. This is going to take a while, and we're all committed to it, and we're all, I think Scotty was just saying a second ago, we're all methodically working on a long-term plan. Some of the decisions you've seen already, and some of those decisions have been very painful for us to make, but these are the decisions we need to make to turn the club around.
I'll keep you going there, Ben. Randall Fernando wants to hear a little bit more about the Arden Precinct plan and how we are positioning our club to play a greater role in the community. From a culture perspective, what are we doing at a strategy level to attract a greater member base?
Yeah, cool. Well, there's a bit in that one. So the Vic government is looking to finalise the plans probably early next year. We're hoping to be later this year, but it'll probably be earlier next year now. That's the plans for the whole sort of precinct that we sit in around North Melbourne. So it's North Melbourne, it's the Arden North, they call it, Arden Central as well, which is the area around where the new train station will be, and we are considered to be in Arden North. It's very exciting. We've put a very compelling pitch to the government. I think it was about a 143-page document in the end that we submitted, and it meets the needs of our community, the North Melbourne community, the Flemington, Kensington, and our backyard. So it was important that we met the needs of the community, but also met the expansion needs, the expansion needs of the Huddle and the North Melbourne Football Club. So to talking to that extra point about what's our role in the community, through the Huddle, we see our role as servicing the needs of the community as best we can, and that is essentially around trying to help people with education, help young people around with jobs, mental health support, and these sorts of things. We're in regular contact and dialogue with the key stakeholders not just in the community, but also at local and state government. So it's very exciting. It'll help set up the club. It'll help set up the community for the next 30, 40, 50 years. So we're really looking forward to that. It'll mean greater recreation space, greater community services, residential development, and all the rest of it. So very exciting stuff. In terms of the membership stuff, well, at the end of the day, the best way to grow our membership base is to get the football program right and to win. We get that, and we're going to talk a bit about that today as well. But we've got a long-term plan that'll see us over the next 3 or 4 years continually build and build and build till we get that sustainable success that we're looking for. The guys have done a power of work in the background, and you're starting to see some of the fruits of that, and you're seeing that with what's happened in the last 24 hours and what's happened over the last couple of weeks as well. But we'll let the list management guys talk to that in more detail. But all of those things combined with targeting a new generation of fans, relaunching our brand, creating a greater awareness and excitement about what we're doing. All of that will hopefully lead to a larger membership base.
Thanks for that, Ben. Brady, next question's for you from Matt Stevens. You selected a whole cohort of coaches last year and fired almost all of them. How can we as members trust the leadership to make the right choices this time around?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it is around the COVID cuts that were implemented on each club. You know, we had a restriction on what we could spend on a monthly basis during the COVID period, and then the soft cap cuts at the end of this year obviously played a big part on the amount of coaches that we have on our books as well. So it's not just purely about cutting based on performance. There was a head count we had to get down to. The other part of it is that we're not going to apologise for trying to get better. We got John Blake in, we targeted him, and to bring someone of John's calibre and experience into the club, something had to give as well. So we're really, really excited by having John Blake in. We've kept our development team with Gavin Brown and Lee Adams and Brent Harvey in their roles, and we've got a couple more assistants to lock in as well once we make the senior coach appointment. So in terms of making the right decisions, our process we've certainly looked at to make sure that we go through the right channels and do background checks, and we've got a panel at the moment obviously that's working towards appointing a senior coach, and then the senior coach will have some involvement in the assistants that he brings along with him. So we're excited by it. We think the process is a really good one. We've got a strong panel, and we're confident that we'll have a great team of coaches to get the best out of our playing group.
Rachel Peters just asked, how many candidates are we interviewing? What's the process? How's it going? And is there a mix of new and experience within that? I know there's probably not a lot you can say because we obviously need to keep the integrity of that process intact and the confidentiality of those going for the job. But is there anything that you can sort of add there just for the members to know how it's going?
Yeah, definitely. I think the main thing is that we didn't look at one type of coach in this process. We wanted to scour the competition, even outside of the competition, and look at left field candidates as well. We didn't want to miss out on a potential coach that would be a great fit for us at North Melbourne. So we didn't look purely at age or purely at experience as a senior coaching role. We looked at all different types of candidates. So we really cast the net for potential candidates, and then we started to narrow in on the ones we'd like to take to phase one. The panel's been together for 2 to 3 weeks now. Very collaborative process. We come up with a criteria that we want to select our coach on, and we're really confident the position we're currently in that within the next week to two, we hope to narrow that down and hopefully we'll announce the senior coach within maybe a fortnight.
Okay. Matt Nolan and also Madeline Alderson, both probably their questions are somewhat similar, and you did address a little bit of Matt's question, which is what's the key experience criteria for the coaching selection panel? And are we leaning towards someone with prior experience? And Madeline wants to know why Lisa Alexander, the former coach of the netball, the Australian Diamonds, was rejected as a head coach. So I think Ben might be able to jump in there as well, Braids. But yeah. So number one, is experience one of the criteria, football coaching experience, and does that then sort of marry into why Lisa was probably not successful?
Well, the AFL's senior coaching experience in terms of having a senior coaching role is not a prerequisite for us. As I said, we want to appoint the right coach. We don't want to be missing out on a candidate that's there that hasn't had experience in the senior coaching role before but would be a great coach for us in the future. So we didn't want to discount ourselves from that scenario, but we certainly want someone that's been around football for a long period of time and has that football experience in the coaching ranks. So whether it be an assistant coach that's been around for 10 to 15 years in football and has experienced a lot of different roles, whether it be senior assistant, midfield, forward, back, head of development, whatever it might be. But we had a criteria where it needed to tick that football box. Lisa's CV was outstanding. We had a good look at that and considered that next phase. But as I said, we set a criteria well before that the football experience really needed to be there.
Xavier Sellings Braids says that he's pretty excited about the future and the young talented players coming through, but just wants to know, and it's a question we get a lot, why can't the club land a big fish? What is it about our club that makes no one want to come here? What needs to change? Now, I probably will say that Xavier's question may have come before the end of the trade period yesterday where we landed 4 players. But what do you have to say to that?
Yeah, well, we're certainly excited by the youth at our club as well. We feel like we're getting ourselves into a position where we'll certainly have the most, probably 22 and under players in the competition, but we want to get to the level where we've got the best 22 and unders as well coming through. And then in the next 2 to 3 years, they're 23, 24, 25-year-olds that have played a lot of football together and they're coming through at the same time. So that's obviously Glenn and Scott will speak a bit more about the list management strategy today, but that's certainly what we're trying to achieve in terms of getting that youth in together, and we feel like we're well towards doing that. But in terms of the big fish, I know in the past there's certainly been plays for some top end talent, and so there should be. You want to get the best players into your footy club. We've been together for about 12 months as a list management team. We've got a strategy in place. As you said, we've just brought 4 new players into our club. We want to keep adding to that over the coming years, and we think we've got a lot to offer as a footy club. We think when we start to perform the way we expect to out in the field, that'll make us a lot more attractive as well. But we think as a footy club, we've got a lot to offer players. We've got a club that's 151 years old. We've got so much culture and history. We're 1K out of the city. We're primed to grow in that area as well with the Arden precinct, and we've got terrific people at our club. So, part of the attraction over the last few months, even longer, when we've been talking to players, is not just about who coaches our team. It's about the wider football department and also our board and exec team as well. So, we've had John Blakey and Gavin Brown be involved in pitches to players along with our list management guys. We've had our players involved. So in terms of what we've got to offer to players, we think we've got plenty to offer, but we want to make sure that our performances on field make us even more attractive as well.
I think it's important, Heath, to look at what happened over the trade period, and we have brought in four players, and they're 4 players that have got a specific role to play in our list build. So we looked at our defence and we needed to stock up there, and we've been able to bring in Aidan Lockheed, who was one of the early names on our board, and we've been able to attract him. Lockie Young, we think's underutilised, and we brought him in. And then the other thing was speed in the front half of the ground, and Jaden Stevenson and R2 bring that. So while we talk about big fish, it's all about the list of 44 that you got to fill and get the right players in. And we've been able to bring in 4 players that have got a specific job description for this list.
Thanks, Luffy. Ben, just moving on now, a question from Mark Walsh, and one that we do get a lot, and I think that as a club we've constantly answered this one, but we'll keep answering it. Will North Melbourne stay in Victoria, or will we relocate to Tasmania?
The short answer is yes. Yes, Mark, we'll stay in Victoria. I think our chairman has been on the record, the public record, several times, at least in the last 12 months, I know, stating that this board has no desire to relocate their club permanently to Tasmania. But having said that, we see Tasmania as our second home. We play Our AFL team plays 4 games a year down there, not this year, but previous years, and hopefully next year as well. And our AFLW team plays a couple of games, 2 games down there in Tassie as well. The girls, I actually don't think the girls have lost a game in Tassie yet, and our men, I think we're over 60% win rate. I think it's been higher than that. Brady and the boys will know. So we love Tassie, and we love our visitations there, whether it's playing games or engaging with community and doing community outreach or working with sponsors and relating to our members and going down there for our pre-season camps, our community camps, and playing our pre-season games down there as well. So we love Tassie. We want to do more, and we want to really build it up as a real effective and genuine second home for us and use it as a competitive advantage. But as I said, where the board's at, where the chairman's at, Arden Street's home for us. Brady was just talking about our history, 151 years, and I was talking earlier before about Arden Street Precinct and the plans for the next 10, 20, 50 years. So we're setting our roots down in Arden Street.
I'd suggest you wouldn't have put that much work into a 148-page document that was sent to the state government if there were other plans afoot.
That's correct.
Brady, can you please describe how we're making sure the women's competition is prioritised as the men's going into 2021? And that comes from Justine McSweeney.
Yeah, well, since day dot, our AFLW programs probably be the envy of the competition, from my knowledge. Our players couldn't be happier at Arden Street. We've got terrific facilities for the AFLW program. They've got obviously access to great resources compared to some other situations across the land. So I think the level of content with our players probably shows how much we put into our AFLW program. We've got a great list. We've got great people involved, and I think we, as a club, promote our AFLW team as well as anyone, and we're really proud of our players and what they do out in the field. We've over the last couple of years been one of the real strong performers in this competition, and we think that'll continue for the future years too, given how strong our list is, and we've been able to keep our team together. We similar to the men's program, we haven't got players that want to leave our club. It probably goes to show how much we value our AFLW program.
Thanks, Brad. Now, this next question comes from Romeo Mikamanako. I want to throw it over to anyone can jump in here. Romeo's
Could you just say Romeo's surname again, please?
Yeah, Miko Manako.
Right.
I got that right, I think, Romeo.
Make sure you get that right.
He's a passionate member for the last 5 years, including his daughters, but he hasn't re-signed this coming season due to COVID circumstances. We hope you're going all right, Romeo, and the family. Although we'll be happy to do so if we could please give supporters more information about where the club is headed. Like I said, I'll throw that open to anyone to jump in and sell the club to Romeo and family.
I think this is a perfect one for Scotty Clayton. Scotty Clayton's the most positive and optimistic person I know. And if anyone's going to sell anyone on the excitement of our youth and our new arrivals and the youth that we already have and the upcoming draft, I think Scotty's perfectly pitched for this one.
Thanks for the opportunity. Clearly, I've been at North Melbourne from basically December. I'm new, but I can tell you the couple of months that we were able to go into the office, the first thing that was so evident to me was shin boner is real. It's in the air. I could smell it. It's like, and the way people behave, and I certainly bought into that on day one. This club's got something special going on. There's absolutely no question about that. The other thing that really surprised me, non-footy related, Huddle, what we do in the community arm, it's. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, and the benefit to our players and how it grounds them and the education it gets and what we actually do out there. So just a couple of non-sort of footy related things to start with. And this new list management team, as upsetting it was that we lost a couple of great members in Trent and Ben through COVID, as did many clubs. So a shout out to them. But in this space, we have the most fun. I mean, we're just the spirit and morale through the roof. We've got a very planned and methodical approach. As we mentioned, about 4 years, and we've sort of cut it into half a little bit because 2 drafts are about as long as you can look forward to. So every small decision fits the big decision, and it just makes work exciting. And the other thing is, when you decide to affect change, it's get up and go, and we understand that. And some of the stuff we've done already that just gets smashed is, and we're sitting thinking we're laying an unbelievable foundation here. I mean, we had the most 26 to 29 players in the comp, and some great people, don't get me wrong. But a lot were sort of underplayed, as in didn't play enough. They had to change. And so here we roll out a plan where we have to make list changes, and we move 11, and we know, according to that list sizes are coming down. Our intel from the AFL is that COVID list sizes are coming down. So we planned for that. We planned for the fact that there's going to be other times to bring in players other than this period. There's going to be a mid-season draft probably. There's going to be an SSSP opportunity in pre-season to get people to train with you and then put on the list. So we're planning for all these things. And as we say, to this point, we've brought in 3 players traded and a delisted and a free agent. So this was all planned, and all the work that we've done with Core and all that at Core and others, this has been going for months. So it's just been fun to be involved. So as much as bringing the players in during this week have been so much fun, this is on the platform of going to the draft, and now it gets really exciting. So we'll have 5 picks in whenever it's going to be in early December, and then we're looking at the numbers of draftable players over 2 years, this year and next, and there'll probably be 4 next year. So yeah, it's so set out. We're so excited, and that's part of. Someone said what should be a KPI for North Melbourne, which is not for me to work out player wise, but I just want at some stage next year, media and supporters go, gee, North Melbourne's exciting. And I'm very confident that'll happen. So I've rambled on enough, haven't I?
No, I think that's a good answer for Romeo there.
Can I jump in, Heath? And that'll be hard to top, I can tell you that. Just in terms of the list and the youth in the team, we've had 5 rising stars over the last 2 years, which is the equal most of any club in the competition. So Mark Finnegan and his team have done an enormous job. 4 of those players were 45 plus in the draft, and you add in Tara and Thomas. Those 5 don't include Jai Simpkin and Luke Davies-Uniacke, who were injured at the time when it was around the qualification for that. So you add those 2, and then we add in Jaden Stevens, who actually won a rising star. There's a big block of youth coming through there, and we've got a really good draft hand this year. So, as Scotty said, exciting. That is the word that we've been throwing around the office for the last couple of days. But it is genuinely exciting for all of us involved.
The other thing I'll just finish off saying is that something not to be underestimated. In the industry, we have terrific relationships with key stakeholders, and that's player managers and agents. We've rolled out our demographic, Glenn, Luffy and Brady, in regards to our plan and where it's going. We're getting buy-in like you wouldn't believe. That's really important.
He's Romeo got his money's worth, Heath.
That 1300 Kangas, Romeo. I think dial now. I think you guys have done a good job there. Luffy, we'll go back to you for this next one. This is from David Jackson. Understanding that there might be some on-field pain coming in 21 and 22, you might disagree with that, and please do if you feel that way. What are the plans beyond that when a number of senior players will be hanging up the boots, i.e. Todd Goldstein, Robbie Tarrant, Jack Zeeble, etc.?
Yeah, I'll argue the pain comment. I think we'll bounce next year. the facts are, as Scotty said before, that we're the most 26 to 29-year-olds in the competition, and we finished 17th. So it was a clear indication we needed some change. While there were some players that exited, we've still got a lot of experience in that area and some club champions that are going to be here for 2-3 years time to help this really exciting youth coming through. So I'd argue that for the first point with the pain. Again, I think we've mentioned it before, planned and methodical, and that's what it is. And that includes replacing our champion players that do end up finishing. So a great example of that is Aidan Core. We recognise that in the back half we have a few guys that might only have 2-3 years left. So Aidan Core was huge. The free agency age of a player is 26, 27, and if they're getting picked up at free agency, they're proven players. So you're going to have them for 5 or 6 years. So Aidan Core, classic example of being planned to replace certain players. And Todd Goldstein, who's got 2 or 3 years left. We've got Tristan Cherry in the background, who we will develop into the next ruckman. So it's planned and methodical in terms of filling all the spots on the list.
Thanks, Luffy. Braids, just a lot of members want to know about Ben Brown and what happened there. And Justin Kelly's one of them. Can you explain why Ben Brown fell out of favour and why we took the approach by telegraphing that he was up for trade early and therefore diluting his trade value?
Yeah, so obviously Ben was a player that we were trying to sign during the pre-season, going into 2020. We were a little bit apart in terms of the tenure. So, then COVID hit and we had to take that contract off the table. So there was obviously a negotiation part that led to what it led to, but also Ben's form throughout the year was obviously not ideal for him and for us, and he had injuries and some personal things going on as well. So towards the end of the year, when you weigh everything up, and Ben's 29 next year as well, that the 4-year commitment that his management wanted was probably not what we agreed to as a list management team. In terms of telegraphing the messaging and the diluting the trade value, I'm not too sure about that. But Ben had one suitor at the end of the year in the Melbourne Footy Club, and we thought as a footy club that moving forward, if we could look at something to bring in for Ben, and he could get a 4-year somewhere else, and we look to the future in terms of going to the draft and bringing in other players, then that was the position we were in. So, in terms of the trade value this week, it could be looked at that we didn't get, a terrific outcome for Ben, but the way we look at the whole trade period is the net result at the end of the period, and we knew that what we were talking about with Melbourne, we could then on trade to Collingwood and bring in 2 players with Steve-O and Artu, who are both 21 and under, that hopefully play a lot of footy for us. So at the end of the day, it's Ben Brown for Jaden Stevenson and Artu is how we looked at it. And Ben has been a phenomenal player for our club. And he's a terrific person and he's done so much for us. So, that can't be underestimated. He'll always be a terrific player for our footy club. But moving forward, we felt that by bringing those 2 in for Ben Brown was good for our future as well.
Brazy, I just want to pick you up on that bit about the telegraphing the situation, because I think it's a bit of a myth. Once you have the discussion with a player that, you might want to move that player on, or it might be in their best interest to have a little look around, obviously their manager starts talking to other clubs. So in terms of telegraphing it, all those other clubs find out pretty quickly that Ben Brown's looking for a new home, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, any player that's out of contract, Managers are out doing their work. So it's nothing new that at the end of the season when Ben didn't have a contract offer because we were so far apart in terms of tenure that every club out there knew the situation that was going on with us and Ben. So, yeah, it was nothing new to other clubs. Clubs have been doing their work on Ben all year, knowing that a contract negotiation had broke down.
It's a difficult circumstance, isn't it? Because we see the opposite happen last night with another club who had players up for trade that they didn't alert people, and they're all annoyed.
Yeah, absolutely, Scotty.
Can I add something there too, Heath? Is that I don't think you can look at these situations in isolation. A lot of these deals are connected too. So to look at a Ben Brown or any other deal in isolation is probably not the best way to look at all of these deals. You've got to look at the totality because, and it becomes academic as well, because at the end of the day, it's just a number, right? So we get, 26 for Ben Brown, which gets on traded to Collingwood. Let's say we did a little bit better and we got 24 or 22 or whatever the number was. That ends up going to Collingwood anyway. So it actually becomes, it's academic. It becomes immaterial what the number is because it's part of a bigger story and a bigger play. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe Glenn or Scotty or Brady can answer a question here about Shaun Higgins. So Simon Gatt, what was the reasoning behind trading Shaun, and when was the club aware that he was wanting to be traded out as well? Braids, I think you've mentioned before about the discussion that maybe took place with Higo at the end of the year, but Luffy and Scott, jump in if you want to clarify why Higo was traded.
Yeah, I might just start this one, Heath, given that I've been in these discussions with Higo for 12 months. He's out of contract at the end of last year, and we had really open and honest discussions then with Shaun. He's had a great attitude ever since my involvement at the footy club, given that whatever's best for the club, that's what he would look at. And we thought the best thing for the club 12 months ago was for Shaun to sign for 2 years. And if we had a different approach, I think he would have been open to looking at that as well. But we signed him up for 2 years. 12 months later, we've come 17th. He's got twins on the way, and he's obviously a Geelong boy. So there's some family circumstances that were occurring as well. But I think when we signed Shaun for the 2 years, we were hopeful that this season was going to go a lot better than what it did. And then we get to the end of the year, and we're sitting down the bottom of the ladder, and Shaun's got 1 year left of contract, and you could probably get 2 years elsewhere. So, Shaun's 33 next year, and a little bit similar to Ben. And if we could get something for Shaun, it'd appease him and his management and his family. But we could get a second rounder in as well, and hopefully either use that to get further up the draft order or bring a player in that plays for the next 8 to 10 years, hopefully. That's Luffy, Scotty and Finn's job. That then it could be a win-win for both. And Higo's been such a star for our club. So, we've lost 2 players there that have done so much for our footy club, and that is never going to be underestimated by all these people on the screen. And I know all our members as well, but when we're looking to the future as well and looking at who's going to be our next premiership team, then we're going to look at these draft picks and bring in other players that are going to get us to where we need to get to.
I think the responsibility, certainly to Shaun, because I mean one of the things we stand for is family, and for his family and children that were coming, it was the right thing to do. But more than that, for us as a footy club, for the growth and the change that we needed to effect, that's in list spots and it's also in dollars. So cut to the chase. So some TPP money out gives you a chance. So can't hide away from these in both of these situations. And the other thing is to the rest of the playing group. Shaun has 1 year left, so he has 20 games left basically at the footy club. We're obliged for the rest of the playing group to go and to look to move him to. So instead of getting 20 games, we're to do a deal that turns that into 100 games. So we're obliged to everyone to do the best thing for all of us.
Thanks, Scotty. A question here from Dan Polidano. I'd like to commend you all for having the conviction to make some hard decisions despite media criticism. Maybe this one for you, Luffy. How will the forward line look in 2021? And how's Charlie Comben travelling? And is he likely to be a regular next year?
It's going to be a unique forward line. You try and predict where the game's heading, and definitely it's a more athletic game. And we really are excited about the thought of our forward line. I mean, we talk about rising stars. 4 or 5 of the rising stars are in that front half. Nick Larkey's career to date is as good as any key forward at his age. So he's done an enormous job. I think the first thought of the sport is who's going to mark the ball, who's going to have that aerial presence. Well, Charlie's that modern day athletic competitor, but when it hits the deck, he pressures like a guy that's 175 centimetres. So we can't wait for Charlie to come along. We've got high hopes for him. But we've all seen Taron Thomas play forward, who can mark the ball, and he's elite at ground level. Curtis Taylor's the same. Jack Marnie had plenty of footy this year. We had Jaden Stevenson with that front half speed. R2's got the speed and the power. So the forward line will be a different looking North Melbourne forward line. But teams have proven that you can win it in any way, and you have to cash in on the assets you've got and play to a game that suits your list. And, you know, there's no cookie cutter type stuff with list management now. Richmond proved that you could win it with one tool a few years ago. So as long as the talent's there and you're getting good supply from up the ground, you'll kick goals. So it's a really exciting forward line going forward.
Heath, just g'day to Dan as well. He's my wife's cousin. So
there's a question from a Heath OCallaghan here for you, Luffy. Can you please pronounce R2's surname?
That's a work in progress for me, Heath.
Bosnos.
I've just got his first name right.
Sorry, Ben, go again.
I'm going with Bosnos.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Braids,
let's all go with R2.
Yeah, R2. Sounds good. Brady, what is the latest on Ben Cunnington's fitness? That's from Matt Stevens.
Yeah, Cunning's progressed really well in the second half of the year. Obviously not to a level to be able to play footy. But, you know, being in the hub and seeing him go through his program, he progressed to some reasonable speed with his running over that period and got some really good volume in as well. And it was all about strengthening his quad muscles towards the end of the year, and it wasn't as much of a hip flex or a back issue. It was more just about strengthening up his legs. So, you know, in the off season, he's had a program that hasn't stopped. He's a pro, and he's certainly been out in the boat and getting plenty of fishing in, which hopefully is not having any effect on his back. But yeah, he's going really well. We don't get Cummins back till January, along with the other 5-year plus players. But our high performance team, you know, obviously are in regular contact with him to make sure that come January he's picking firing and getting back out there and playing some good footy for us, because we know how important he is for us as one of the best inside mids in the competition. So short answer is he's come along well.
Guys, we don't have Mark Finnegan, our national recruiting manager, on this call, but you can answer this one on his behalf. Comes from Neil Smith. What confidence do we have in making good draft selections, given the impact of the pandemic on football leagues across the country? And obviously, Neil's talking to the fact that we haven't been able to see a lot of the kids play because the competitions haven't been running.
I'll start. Clearly, it's not ideal. We've been able to, so live viewing has been non-existent for us basically, other than a couple of runs to the country area when that was open months ago. So we saw a couple of players. But we're very confident. Brady came up with a good call. I mean, because we trade future picks, we trade a year in advance. So if you do that as a base to your business, you've got to scout futures. So we know them as a 17-year-old. But we have, between us, we've watched just hours and hours and hours of vision, whole of games, edited stuff, very professional what we've got available to us, and vehicles to watch stuff and the data that we get. And it's right. We'd just like to see them in the flesh if we could in the next before the draft, which we will. And there's vision from combines and stuff like that. So we've done a mountain of work. We've watched so much. We're very confident. We like the draft pool. We love where our picks have settled, as in, and that's not over yet because you can trade picks right up to the draft. But we're really well placed, and all I can say is the absolute work's been done, and we'll be organised.
Luffy, there's another question. It doesn't have a name attached to it, unfortunately, but it basically says, because you're a data nerd, how much emphasis do you put into data from under 16 and under 17 competitions?
Yeah, I do get tagged with the data questions all the time. The data is one piece of the big jigsaw puzzle. There's match data, there's GPS data, there's site data, but then you've got vision and then the interview process. So we've interviewed over 70 players over Zoom, which we thought might have been a bit difficult at the start of the year, but it's actually worked out pretty well. So there's a lot to look into. The thing with our list management team, it's a really unique skill set across the team. Obviously, I've got the data background. Scotty's got the 30 years of experience. Brady's been a list manager before, and Finn's got his 10 years of experience. So all that gets thrown into the melting pot, and that's how you come up with the decisions. But, yeah, the data's there. We clearly look at it from under 16s and the 17-year-old players as well. So it's all part of it.
Josh Bosnos just wants to know what our 3 biggest positional needs in the upcoming draft are.
I think at the start of the year, we really identified speed, particularly through the midfield and the front half, and we've addressed that with two players in the trade period. The back half was also, we needed to look forward in terms of, 2, 3, 4 years time with the back line, with a few, because we had a lot of those 28 pluses in that area. We've addressed 2 of those, so we've brought in Call, as I explained before, and Lockie Young. So I think we feel like the list builds a lot more balanced than what it was 12 months ago. At the draft, we'll have a draft order, and early, with your first 2 or 3 picks, it's the best talent, and from there we'll get a little bit more specific about needs. But we'll be rating the draft our top 50 to 60 players, and we'll be working to that.
Scott, Luffy sort of touched on it before, but Simon Barnes wants to know, how long do we think the rebuild will take? Richmond were aggressive with their 5-year plan, etc. Will we be doing the same? What's your take on that? How long could the bounce back take?
I'm confident it won't be as long as predicted. I mean, our age demographic is actually really good. We're not going all the way back down to be the youngest team in the comp. It's just not. It's not where we're at. Gold Coast now, their demographics there. We're going to go down a little bit and then it flattens. But talking about data again, but the age demographic, which is a measurement of experience and age, AFL games and age, that's very promising. So in the next 2 or 3 years, there'll be a sweet spot again. I mean, there's a demographic that Luffy runs on sort of grand final teams on where they're won and the 2 grand finalists, and we're not far below that line. So, and over 20 years, that's covered about, so it stands the test of time, and there's only 2 sort of winners outside of that. So, I get sort of funny when everyone wants to know, are you in rebuild mode or you're in premiership mode? Well, they're not mutually exclusive. I mean, it's just, they're inextricably linked. The fact is, you're always rebuilding, and you're always, unless you continually go to the draft and bring in players from below, you run into a dead end. So, I mean, you should always be, we're trying to win, don't get us wrong. Whether we're good enough, of course, that's probably not in the next 2 minutes, but always in premiership mode, always in development or rebuild mode simultaneously for mine.
Thanks, Scotty. Luffy, Thomas Norman's just asking specifically, how would Jaden Stevenson be used in the forward line, and also about Lockie Young and Aidan Core and their roles in defence. Can you give us a bit of an idea of what we expect from them and how they'll be used?
Yeah, obviously Jaden's played a lot of his AFL footy from the square, and he's very good at it because of his speed and his ability to turn his play around. We think he's got a bit of scope to play a bit higher, whether it's high half forward as well, and then the potential to play a bit of wing and inside mid. He's under 18 or junior profile was, I remember saying it at the time, it was nothing. I hadn't seen anything like it. He played as a goal kicker in his bottom age, and then the same as a bottom age, then played on a wing in the national championships, and then played as an outside midfielder in the second half of his last junior year, and regularly got 30 plus touches and won his own footy and kicked goals. So he's a really unique player at draft time. He probably hasn't been given the opportunity to show those other things that he can do. So yes, we've got him in as a forward with speed and ability to put pressure on, but we think down the track with some development that he can pinch hit in the midfield. No doubt about that.
It's interesting that year, that TAC Cup it was called in those days, the two best inside-outside mids for the back half of that draft year was LDU and Jaden Stevenson. So that's I'm pretty excited about that prospect, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so what about Aidan Core and Lockie Young then, Luffy, in terms of their roles?
Yeah, well, as I said before, we've tracked Aidan since, I think it was day 2 into the job. We were talking about Aidan Core and going to watch. I didn't know a heap about him, but to watch him live in the Marsh series and then early in the season, I was staggered at how quick he was. His ability to defend, and he just defends with intent. But the beauty about Aidan is you talk about the modern game where forward lines are potentially getting smaller and quicker. Aidan can play on talls. He can play on smalls. And that's why the big reason why the Giants really loved him. So we just see Aidan as being that flexible defender that can play on all types. So he's a real general as well. He controls, and he's very vocal out there and organising the rest of the back line. So we're really excited to have him on board. And Lockie, we think, will be a higher defender. He's got a beautiful kick on him. We saw in his AFL game this year that he can run all day. But we think he's a player that will be able to intercept the ball and really use the ball well. Scotty might be able to talk about Lockie more because he's really tracked him heavily over the last 3 years. But, yeah, there's a specific role. As we said before, there's a job description for all these guys. So that's where they'll be.
Yeah, I think Lockie starts at half-back, perhaps the highest. Clearly the coach has a lot to do with this. But he's athletically quite elite. He can really run. So yeah, we've got to utilise his strength there. Like him to be confident to leave and go across and mark it. And then he's got a kick that really, it's a punchy kick. It gets there really quickly. So there's just some confidence and some games, and there's a real upside there.
Sounds good to me. Guys, I'll finish up now. I want to thank you all for your time. We've got one last question that I'll put to Ben. Credit to you, Ben. You wanted to do this question and answer session with these guys, specifically after the trade period, to open up to the fans and give them insight into the decision-making, and credit to all you guys for bringing the North fans into the tent on that. Peter Watson has asked, though, Ben, I believe going forward it would serve members well if there could be future question and answers, ideally at the start of the season, then possibly the midpoint of the season, and finally at season's end. Is this something that we can commit to?
Well, depends on how this is received. If they think we suck, This will be the last one we do. No, I'm being flippant. We'd love to do more of these. So this is the first, and hopefully the first of many. And it's all up to the members and the supporters. If this resonates and this is something that the fans get value out of, then I'm happy to do these every month. The boys are probably shrieking now. They'll kick me after the call. but seriously, I mean, our club doesn't exist without the supporters, and we've seen that this year. How drab and how deflating and disappointing was it playing in those empty stadiums without supporters and members? It was awful. The supporters and members are the lifeblood of this club, and if they feel as though they get some value out of more connectivity with us and the club, then we'll be here every month.
Well, it's been a fascinating chat, guys. Really appreciate you making yourselves available, and again, like I said, opening up. And we'll look to do more of these in the future. But thanks for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Heath.
You.